Hi and welcome to ChinnyVision. This time we're looking at the follow-up to Sweevo's world, Hydrofool. Spectrum and Amstrad owners will be familiar with Sweevo's world, a game very much overshadowed by Head Over Heels, Batman and pretty much all the Ultimate games. Hydrofool is the follow-up to that by Faster Than Light. Came out in 1987. You're Sweevo the robot, and what you've got to do is you're swimming around in an aquarium and you've got to completely drain it by pulling out each of the 4 plugs. I'm going to start off on the Amstrad, and the first thing that hits you is this wonderful Rob Hubbard theme playing in the background and the Elvis Presley motif on the level select there. 4 colour mode here on the Amstrad, medium resolution, ported across on the Spectrum, although we're going to look at the Spectrum second. So you select the level and then you see Sweevo swim down into that whirlpool, and you start off in the aquarium floating down. Bottom right hand side you see the rustometer there, and the rustometer, don't know which way to say it. That goes down the entire time because you're a robot and you're underwater. What you've got to do is collect the little tins of oil, and that will push the meter back up to prevent rust. Different objects scattered around the screens, and when we find the plug room, you'll see that each of the 4 plugs requires a different object. So we have to take the objects to the plug room and drop them, but we don't know what is needed yet. That horseshoe is actually a weapon, as we saw there when I fired it against the wall accidentally. You can either carry a weapon or an object, and you can't do both. There are baddies wandering around in different screens, which you've got to avoid, and you've got things like there, like the sea slugs popping up, so we've got to navigate carefully through this screen. Nice use of colour here on the Amstrad, slightly garish, but you get a different set of colours for each screen. And in the Amstrad's medium resolution mode here, it looks quite attractive. There's a big fish there. I should be able to kill him with this horseshoe. Got one of those left. Try again. Didn't work. Different objects are required against different enemies, so there might be something laying around here. That bone might do it. When the enemies touch you, no, that's an object. When the enemies touch you, your rustometer goes down as well. That prong thing there should do it. Mustn't touch the... Oh, there we go. Mustn't touch the weed things there, because you lose energy from them as well. Right, got the prong. Try and shoot him. There we go, done that. Right. This is a big game, and there's multiple levels to the game, because whirlpools will take you down to the lower levels, and little bubbles will take you up to the higher levels, but like Bubble Dizzy really. I had to discharge that weapon there because I couldn't pick up the oil I needed. The Rob Hubbard theme tune plays all the time in the background. It's right, here we go. Here's the plug room, and they're the 4 objects I need: a boot, a tin, and another boot, and something else. So I've got to deliver those objects back to that room. And to get at this oil here, I'm going to have to jump onto that bubble and drop down there, and I've got the oil. It's worth not picking up every single oil tin you see, because they don't replenish, and you're going to need them later in the game, so only take it when you need it. I'm just going to take this one here again just to demonstrate that jumping up. Right, so there's a whirlpool in this screen. So if I go into that, it might take me down to a lower level. Very carefully maneuver through. There we go. So we're down on a lower level here. I think sometimes you can kill enemies and they will drop some of the objects you need. And these are piranha fish, which are particularly vicious. Also, some of the enemies, not in that case, but in the case of the whales, they can follow you between certain screens, so they will actually chase after you. There's a tin there. Now, was that one of the objects needed? I can't remember. I think the objects change as well between plays of the game, so I think it sometimes works out differently every time you play it. Harpoon there, which means there could be a big baddie around here as well somewhere. I'll get my way across, which is easier said than done. Hydrofool is a well-presented game, but perhaps in a world where the Ultimate games, Head Over Heels and Batman didn't exist, it will be better regarded. The problem is, and we've just moved across the Spectrum version here, is there's an awful lot of wandering around very similar screens. It's incredibly easy to get lost. The puzzles aren't necessarily logical, and it just becomes frustrating, which is a shame. Also, on the Spectrum version, some of the graphics can be quite hard to see, even on composite. There on this blue screen, I can't see a thing. It's black on blue, very, very difficult. There's an object over in the corner of the screen there. Is it an oil can? I can't quite see what it is. Which is a shame. That's just a colour choice thing, really, there. Spectrum version plays exactly the same as the Amstrad version. Doesn't have the music on the 48K version here, although there is a 128K version that does have that wonderful Rob Hubbard theme. I should mention at this point that we're playing the Spectrum version here and we saw the Amstrad version earlier. There is no Commodore 64 version. For whatever reason, Faster Than Light decided not to produce one. The problem with Hydrofool is, although it's well presented, there's a lot of wandering around without achieving an awful lot. Especially when you're comparing it, and again I'll say it, with games like Head Over Heels. Because Head Over Heels has a logical flow, there's a path through the game, you're not constantly going back in Head Over Heels, not generally anyway. Whereas Hydrofool, you're wandering all over the place, the screens all look the same. You can map it or you can get a map online, but for most people, for a quick blast, life's too short, which is a shame, because there is a good game in here, but why play it when there's so many better isometric games out there?